Suraj Cherukhat. Mr. Suraj is a business development, strategy, and sales operations specialist with international experience in developing and implementing strategies to improve operational performance. His core includes expertise in bringing transformational changes in capital equipment and heavy machinery in mining, aggregates, and construction industries. Today, he will be talking about Indian manufactured sand market and possibilities. So let's welcome Mr. Suraj.
So actually I am here to have a very brief discussion about manufactured sand market and the possibilities. So as Mr. Abhinav was very specifically mentioning about urbanization. Urbanization is a very, like you can say, that's a double-sided sword which is right now. As someone said, growth for sake of the growth is the ideology of cancer cell. It is the same which is happening at certain parts of the globe as well as certain parts of the country also. So urbanization is an inevitable thing. We all are running behind urbanization. So people, migrant laborers, people moving from one city to another city and their movement and all these things are really affecting the urbanization process. But yes, based on that urbanization, the infrastructure also has to be developed. In a way, this urbanization is helping us in the development of the infra. And India, as a third world country or one of the biggest developing nation and the biggest democracy, urbanization and development is very inevitable. So basically, I will give a very glimpse idea about Indian manufactured sand market. So as someone said, a handful of sand is an anthology of the universe itself. By 2020, Indian sand market had attained a quantity of 833 million tons. And we are expecting, as Abhinav was rightly mentioning, seeing at least 6 to 7% of growth annually for the requirement of sand. Each and every year it might go increase 6 to 7% based on all the developmental activities which is happening. And if we look into the particular figure which we say, you can't correctly quantify, but then also there is an approximate idea about that river sand as well as manufactured sand. Out of that, river sand was playing a bigger role in Indian market, but slowly and steadily at various parts of the country, the river sand is being replaced by the manufactured sand. So I wish to give some clear idea about what is the differences primarily between a river sand, then a manufactured sand, and how both differ and how and why manufactured sand is beneficial for the country as well as for everyone. So when we look into the construction activities, there can be various types of sands used. We can call it as concrete sand, pit sand, then the natural sand which is Msat, utility sand, fill sand. These are not specifically used widely just like normal things, but yeah, few are used to a certain extent and the other ones are used to a normal extent. So when we go into the sand, basically sand means something below 4.75 mm. So size of a sand is like the fine aggregates or those aggregates which the size is lesser than 4.75 mm, or we call it as from 0 to 4.75 mm. So we have very coarse sand, coarse, medium, fine grained. These are the typical types of sand which are being used in the market. So now when we specifically come into the properties of the manufactured sand or Msat, which is being popularly known as, I guess some of the firms have already patented the name Msat, specifically in Kerala, if Pope's Group and all. So Msat cannot be used that widely. First and foremost thing which we focus is like the environmental friendly thing. As we all know, depletion, any development without considering the future generations' right to grow here cannot be considered as a sustainable development. So right now, we know at various parts of the country which was surplus with a lot of water and all these facilities, and Indian economy was an agrarian economy. Everybody was basically depending on agriculture. But from that situation, we have moved into various points where even in the normal timing, water was not available even to drink. In certain cases, the rains have become uneven. Some places we have those cloudburst kind of rain which lead to large amount of soil erosion and further floods. At the same time, in the normal season, we don't have water. So these has basically affected, or these are the basic results of depletion of rivers to a bigger extent, due to which there is depletion in the groundwater level, which further had affected a lot for normal water tables. So the importance of Msat primarily comes in that area. We can save our river, we can save the natural water deposits. But having said that, there are certain situations where, like, if you consider Northeast and all those areas, Northeast or specifically Brahmaputra area, Brahmaputra river belt, and particular areas where the river sand has to be taken. Otherwise, If the river sand is not taken, it will lead to floods. So certain parts of the country, we have to go for manufactured sand, which will save our water and the nature. At the other end, river sand has to be considered. And so one important point of Msat is the environmental friendly nature. Second thing is the quality of the material. If I say about the quality of the material, even always the river sand will have the debris and other natural things and silt and all these things normally, which will affect the quality of the concrete or any other particular further process which is being done. So concrete or the rusting of the roads which is used, if you have silt or any other organic matter or any debris materials inside that. So, but in a manufactured sand, you can select the quality of the material. You can remove the fines from that. You cannot have any foreign particles. So in that perspective, quality of the material is advantageous over the river sand. Now it is the shape. When we say about shape, sorry, I have typed shape twice. The shape means we have a rough surface and a cubical shape for the manufactured sand, because it is being produced through various processes, but predominantly manufactured sand is produced during using the process of impact crushing. So that in turn helps in more absorption towards the cement, better strength and better workability for the concrete. Now we come again with the strength. The flexural strength of the concrete is improved basically if you are using for a manufactured sand, because more water absorption and more strength is thing. Quality of the concrete also, the strength of the concrete, the life of the concrete, all these things are improved basically if you are using an Msat. Now, when we come to the classification of Msat or manufactured sand, we call fine aggregates. Msat is normally called as fine aggregate because the size is below 4.75 mm. I guess everybody would have gone through Abhinav's presentation where the coarse aggregates was very clearly mentioned and specifically put in. So, in 4.75 mm fine aggregate, what we see is natural sand is there for one. We can, if we keep it apart, then we have crushed stone sand. Means the normal stones are crushed and converted into sand. Now we have crushed gravel sands where the gravels are converted. Third one is the mixed sand, which is used in various areas where the normal natural sand is mixed in certain proportions along with the manufactured sand and is being used. And the last is a manufactured fine aggregate sand. This is specifically one of the latest technology which is being coming up. You would have heard of a lot of flat demolishing, road reconstructions, and in all that certain situations, what is that being done is that the recycled, the already used materials are recycled, and these recycled materials are again converted into sand, into the naturally preferable material, so that it saves the nature as well as the product cost, and the product is being reused. So that is the last stage. Now, I've already mentioned about advantages of Msat. So that is the one thing. Now, I just want to focus about the flexural strength. See, as this particular data has been taken from an international journal, I will keep the courtesy for that. So it is like the compression strength and the flexural strength both aids a lot. Even many common people have a doubt whether I should be going for a manufactured sand or I should go for a river sand. Across India, till now, people are not that educated, or my perspective is that people's information about manufactured sand is not that adequate for making them to think that, okay, if I have an option to go for a river sand as well as a manufactured sand, it is manufactured sand that I should be going so that I can save money, I can get a better quality of the product. Still, the notion is that I should go for a river sand. So in this perspective, whenever a concrete is being made using a manufactured sand, obviously the strength and other qualities of the concrete is better when compared to the river sand. There are some drawbacks for the Msat or manufactured sand. The particular point is like it is the quality of which it is being made. It can be easily adulterated because in a retail market, there are no stringent measures to touch the quality. If it is a corporate project or a National Highway Authority of India project or any other bigger projects which is happening, in that area, yes, the material has to be tested and the quality inspections are done. So there we can assure the quality of the material. But in a retail market, it is not done. And when there are fines lesser than 75 micron, which is not as per IS 383, then in that perspective also, the quality of the concrete which we expect to get is not good enough. And if we tell about sand, manufactured sand, there are two options to make manufactured sand. One is like through wet classification and second is through dry classification. So in those particular dust which is being used in dry classification, any other moisture content comes means it will adulterate the quality of the sand. And last, but it is not of a conservative amount, there are certain perspective that cement's requirement may go up if the sand proposition is not perfect. So that is not there very clearly, but as per of that, the sand proportions are always mixed well by the civil engineers. But then also, in other perspectives, like the seasonal variation of the river sand will not ensure you the availability of sand always. So during any bigger projects or even road projects or any bigger bridge projects and all these things happening, to ensure the seasonal availability of the sand, always they go for the manufactured sand. So that once the setting is done, once the mixed proposition is perfectly being created, it will be easy to proceed with that for the further things. So I just want to focus on one way, like how this manufactured sand or from various possible options this manufactured sand is being created. We normally go for a 3-stage crushing circuit. Obviously, dust or manufactured sand comes as a byproduct if you are making aggregates to a certain extent. Or we can go for a dedicated circuit which will be manufacturing sand alone. So predominantly 3 kinds of equipments are used to get manufactured sands directly. One is a fine cone crusher, then a horizontal shaft impactor, and then the vertical shaft impactor. When we go about the standards, different standards and quality measures which is being focused on testing and ensuring that the manufactured sand which we use is good enough. One is IS 383, the latest version is 2016, and IS 2386 for material testing. These are the 2 codes and standards which predominantly are being used for understanding the quality of the material which we use. And one of the major determining factor for the quality of the sand is the fineness modulus. The fineness modulus is basically the one which is being calculated during the sieve analysis. A sieve analysis is being perfectly carried out on the particular product or the sample of the product which we have to take the test. Then the cumulative percentage retained is calculated and it has a particular value for the things. On a normal manufacturing sand process, the big rocks this is a basic crushing circuit which we are going to focus. It is like the jaw crusher crush the boulders into the finer ones. Then the cone or the secondary jaws crushes again, and the tertiary one, the VSI crushes into any size below 4.75. So the point is like we have 75, it was as per IS 383 initially it was 150 micron to 4.75. Now we have improvised the 150 micron content 10 more percentage and 75 micron below to 4.75 micron is being considered as the sand these days. So in manufactured sand, we have majorly 3 classifications. First one is for concrete sands. Concrete sand predominantly across all India, it is 150 micron to 4.75 millimeter. Specifically in some areas, maybe like in certain parts of Tamil Nadu and certain parts of Kerala and all, it is 4.36 and also. But on a standard, it is 4.75. Again, the next sand is the plastering sand. Plastering sand also size do vary between 2.3 to 2.75 and to 2.9 also in certain areas. But then also predominantly it is 75 micron to 2.3. And last one is for brickworks, which is not commonly manufactured. It is like a byproduct and it is being sold. But M sand and P sand, concrete sand and the plastering sand are the 2 major products which are being sold all across India. Now, if you ask about the new trends, what is happening in the industry? Since the importance of manufactured sand is very much evident and each and every individual is focusing on manufactured sand, new sand policies have been released by Rajasthan government, Tamil Nadu government, latestly by Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. So these sand policies which very clearly mentions and ensures that manufactured sand is used more in particular areas when compared to river sand. Secondly, the quality of the manufactured sand is ensured, and this thereby ensures that every public project or any bigger projects or even any consumerized projects, all these projects are very well maintained in their quality and their life is ensured, as well the nature is conserved. Later, I guess many would have been heard about dam re-energizing process. Dam re-energizing, it is a sort of manufactured sand, but it's a natural sand. Especially in Kerala and into Madhya Pradesh and very bigger areas, dam re-energizing has started. So in India, we have a lot of dams. And for the past 25 to 50 years, majority of the dams, silt which is being deposited are not being removed till now. All the silt are deposited there itself. So this, in a way, is affecting the bearing capacity of dams. Dams will not be able to bear that much amount of water which they were bearing initially. And there are possibilities that the water has to be dropped down into the rivers, which thereby causes flood to the nearby riverbeds. Second thing is that the power manufacturing capacity of the government's electricity boards are going down because they are not able to store that much amount of water which they were storing initially. And this in turn leads to power shortages at certain points. So now many propositions can come up, and even in Kerala they have started. We have 1, 2, 3 projects. Even Hailstone is doing 2 projects for them. So what we're doing is that the silt is being dredged. The dredged silt is being taken out, and the silt we are processing and we are converting into usable form. The fine particles which I was mentioning, like 75 micron below and 4.75 above, and all those natural debris materials are removed, and cubical natural shaped sand. It is a natural sand, but processed through a manufacturing process. So we are creating manufactured natural sand. So this sand is being sold into the market, open market. So we get a good natural sand, which is as per the standards, as per the nomenclature, meeting all the technical things. But thereby we are not hindering any process of the nature, but we are aiding more help and more facilities for the nature. Then the same thing we have been doing for another project also, like in the seabeds, where the small channels for the boats and the ships, the sand is getting deposited again. So what we are doing is that we are using that sand again. That sand is again processed. The salt is desalinated. Once it is desalinated, then the debris materials are removed, and the removed materials and the desalinating sand is again sold into the market. And finally, recycled concrete aggregate, it is becoming a common thing. Thank you. Bye.